Hello class, we are now in module 9b and we will still continue discussion about the characterizing the external environment. And we will be focusing more on the external environment in the international perspective. Okay, so we'll not focus more on domestic, but we will discuss more on the international perspective of the external environment. So as you can see here in this map, the red color here, this is the eastern part of the world, and the blue one is the western part of the world, or western country. So the red one is the eastern countries. So the environment in international markets has become more liberal with the emergence of the global market economy. So this liberalization is particularly seen in emerging economies as they have deregulated with banking, also the telecommunication, and other sectors. So while opening their economy to the firms from developed countries to set up operations in their market. So when we hear the word developed countries, this is in the blue one, the Western countries, developed, and in the red one, this is the developing countries. Okay, so the flow of the capital from Western, okay, this blue one, Western to Eastern markets, and the flow of raw materials and goods in the opposite direction have led to interdependence among economies. Okay, so both this and the technological developments have created the knowledge economy, with firms being driven toward knowledge management and they practice it. So the focus is on the development of core competencies using a resource based perspective. Okay, so there are businesses coming from Western countries. So they also have planted or have a satellite or branches to the eastern part. And there are also a business from the eastern countries. They went to the western countries. Okay, this is an international market or business. So the transnational economy, along with the demand for specialized labor, has led to the flow of labor from developing economies to developed economies. Again, when we hear the word developed country, that is the Western country, and when we hear the word developing country, that is the Eastern country. So, what are the examples of Western countries? What are the countries always belong with the Western countries? USA, Canada, and Europe, and others. Okay, New Zealand. And, and when we hear the word Eastern countries, um, all countries in Asia, okay, or for example in the Philippines, in Indonesia, Malaysia, or in the UAE, okay. So those are the examples of Eastern countries. And the relocation of firms from domestic to international market has led to the flow of managerial expertise in the opposite directions. As you can see here in this picture, this is a representation of globalization or representation of connection. For example, um, there's an owner of the business here, so they have the interconnection with the other countries. Okay, so this is globalization. For example, we have the business, we need to adapt according to the culture of that particular business, especially in the hospitality and tourism industry. So, again, all of this has led to the creation of interdependencies among economies, leading to an era in which global firms and global market are the order of the day. And we also have they called it state of the art technology has also helped firms to create intra and inter-firm networks, okay, that have made information flow across national boundaries more effective. So the technology have a big role in a business. We can easily get the information. For example, your business, your main office of your business is in the eastern part, and you also have another branch or satellite business on the western part, we can easily get the data or information by the help of the technology. Again, the technology has a big part for the globalization of any businesses. And yes, the globalization, state of the art, have increased the risk exposure of the firms as resources are stretched to capture growth. If we will adapt technology, it will rapidly increase the growth of our business. And also there's a negative impact also of the technology. And also the negative aspects of globalization. Globalization is not just only they have a positive side, but there is also a negative aspects of globalization, and exposure to risk have been on display during the current financial meltdown, which had led firms to seek assistance from governments to survive the unprecedented crisis. Okay, that is why also the business, for example, here in the Philippines, if we have the informations or the data as only recorded on the documents, on the written documents or in the printed documents, you have the technology. And if we will adapt the technology, we need to have a backup with the written reports or documents. For example, if there's a problem, there's a crisis happen in the system, there's a problem on this, the system, the application or the technology, we have a backup. Okay, so even though in our time today, technology is really increasing, all the businesses perhaps already adapted the use of technology, yet the businesses also still applying the written reports or records in case of there is a problem. And then the global hospitality and tourism industry includes firms that have operations in various national contexts. So these firms range from hotels, restaurants, and airlines to casinos, cruises, and travel-related businesses. And given the cyclical nature of the business in the international context, firms are able to effectively balance upturns and downturns. Okay, when we see here, this line represents upturn, and on this particular line, it is represents downturn. Okay, so the business owners have this kind of strategy. We all know that the every country experience um, negative results, or the economy is there's a bad situation of the economy of the particular country. So this is one of the reasons why the business owners apply this globalization or put up their business with other countries, so that for example in the Philippines, if we our economy is going down, there's no problem because we also have other branches in the other country whose economies is increasing. So we can back up. For example, the have a downside with the Philippines, but there's no problem because in America, we have the good economy on that particular country, and vice versa. For example, there is a downside with the America, and there is a increasing of the economy in the Philippines. So there's no problem about that. So that is one the strategy of the business owner why they were um, pursue the international trade or international business. Okay, they make their business an international. So for an example, in Marriott International Hotel, they can manage business cycles related to leisure travel by operating hotels in the um, north countries and southern hemisphere. Okay, so when the leisure travel is down in the winter months in Europe, for example, the firm could balance this downturn by benefiting from the summer months in Australia. Again, for example, the Marriott Hotel, they have hotels in Europe. They also have hotels in Australia. The number of travelers or tourists visiting the particular country, it depends on the season. Okay, so If there's a seasonal, there's an increased number of guests, and there's a possibility the increased number of income. And if there's a particular month is not in the season or not in seasonal, there is a there's a downside of the income of the particular hotel. That is why again they are adapted with the have the different location of their hotel establishment. They will have the backup. Okay, there's a upturn and there are also sometimes a downturn. That is why that is the disadvantage if we will have a business, only one business. So how about if that particular business will turn down, there is a bankruptcy, so we don't have any other alternatives. That is why it is advisable if we have a business, we have different kinds of business. They will back up the other business, for example, if there is a particular problem. But with the internationalization comes on increased risk of exposure, which could be effectively managed by using various modes of development. Okay, what are those modes of development? We have franchising, management contracts, and ownerships. So these three were the basic modes of development. That is why it is important as a manager to know these terms and how these particular modes of development, how we're going to use these kinds of modes for the development of our business that we're going to manage. So we only have a short discussion for module 9B, characterizing the international environment, and we are focusing more on the international perspective. Again, for summary, there's a big role of this globalization, international trade, or making our business into international. Okay, so there are managers or owners of the business. He adapted this, putting their other branches with the different countries from western to eastern or eastern to western. Okay, there are advantage of that particular part, and then the big rule of the technology in the business. Okay, if the business were not going to apply the technology, there's a big possibility they will have a bankruptcy of their business and they fail to have these opportunities of the increasing of their business or growth opportunities of their business. That's why important that the business would apply, especially in our time today, the technology. And even though we will already apply the technology, we need to have a backup with the documents, written documents or written reports. It is very important. So we are done with the module again, module 9B, characterizing the international environment in the international perspective. Don't forget to answer the quiz. Bye bye.